The product I'm actually going to talk about is the Yamaha R-N2000A, which the review's up on the site. So again, like so many of these times, I'm not going to be going through the whole thing. I mean, I think the review is pretty comprehensive. But I wanted to highlight this is a really interesting thing because this turned up within within days of the NAD 3050 LE limited edition amp, which has VU meters and an HDMI-ARC input. And I thought, well, that's a combination you're not going to see particularly often. And it has VU meters and HDMI-ARC input. And you think, oh, it's, two sides of the same coin. I was going to say something different, but two sides of the same coin. And they couldn't be more different in terms of their user experience and indeed just how they feel as products. The Yamaha, the NAD is overtly and deliberately retro. It's now celebrating their 50th anniversary, and it's a different undertaking. The Yamaha is this design because that's the design that Yamaha have had since 2008. I mean, if you don't like VU meters, it's going to annoy you, but you can switch them off, and they're not particularly large or obtrusive. And it rather hides the fact that this is a really quite a clever piece of kit. What they've done is build something very similar in spec to the NAD. It's got streaming on board. It's got the latest version of Yamaha's Music Cast. It's got digital inputs. It's got analog inputs. It's got a phono stage, obviously, because everything's got a phono stage these days. But where I found the NAD charming but a bit weird to use because it was a modern interface crammed into a box designed to look like it came from 1973. This isn't like that. This is how Yamaha designs their products. So if you look at the photos in the review, there is a strake down the bottom of the front panel where the display is. Now that display is lit in most of the images, but when you're actually using the amplifier, it's only lit up when you're actually changing the information. So for the most part, you have no idea that they've buried a luminous display in that section. And it keeps the 70s aesthetic, but it just makes this product so much easier to use day to day than the NAD because you can see at a glance what your volume level is, what your input selected, if you're having any network issues, and so on and so forth. It's beautifully made. It's a Yamaha product, of course it's beautifully made. But I think more than that, it doesn't feel like we've discussed whether we're at peak retro. This product doesn't fit into those particular criticisms. It is just being a Yamaha product, and it works sensationally well. I was really, really pleased that the review sample that I had then turned up at the Bristol show in Yamaha's pared back room, and I was delighted to see that quite a few people agreed with me that it sounded pretty damn good. I mean, they were running a pair of £7,000 speakers, which will be debuting later on in the year, so they were giving it a reasonable head start. But this is a really, really impressive product. We're at early days thinking about AVForums Awards. I mean, it's going to happen a bit earlier in the year than it did the previous year, but we've still got some months to go. This one is one to watch. In terms of its all-round capability, I think this is something that's going to be quite tricky to beat because it just does so many things so well. You don't need to have anything else attached to it. It can do all of your streaming on board. HDMI-ARC from the television, it just syncs up and it goes. It switches on when you switch the telly on. It behaves just like a giant soundbar with VU meters on it. And it's a really, really satisfying thing to listen to and use. So I have very, very high hopes. I don't have high hope. I know it's extremely good. I think this could end up being one of the better products that we see this year, and it's certainly the best Yamaha product I've tested in quite a long time.
I do like the silver and black finish. It looks really
I was really taken with it. It's a lovely, lovely thing to listen to and use and live with. So well done, Yamaha.
The most important question, Ed. You know what's coming. How accurate are the VU meters?
Right. Unlike with the Macintosh reviews, I wasn't able to borrow my friend to do a really, really drill down test on them. But if we take the NAD ones to be not accurate at all, they are completely decorative. These aren't bad. I faffed with a voltmeter briefly, and I think they are within. They're going to give you a reasonable understanding of what's going on, and they also, it must be said, they're nice quality items. They're decent movement, and the way that Yamaha illuminates is full 70s. They don't do the backlighting like Macintosh. They just do lighting.
Down lighting.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it is not the same incandescent lighting as would have been the case in the 70s, because that's hopelessly inefficient. But it does look very much like incandescent lighting. So the attention to detail is nice, and it's got a lovely remote control as well.
Do you feel that this is a new segment and we're going to see more of these types of...
Definitely. Absolutely, 100%. The thing is, if you're an AV manufacturer, especially, I mean, let's face it, Yamaha still has a full range of AV receivers, so HDMI-ARC is not exactly exotic technology to them. A number of people, we've discussed this in several podcasts, have left, multi-channel behind. They looked at the number of speakers, they looked at living arrangements and so on and so forth, and they've gone, I'm going back down to 2-channel. If you make a product that gives you just some of the niceties that you grew accustomed to with multi-channel in a 2-channel box, this isn't me sticking a finger in the wind. There's clear data from dealers and GfK that it's actually doing some decent numbers. The other thing, of course, I didn't mention is that the Yamaha, the 2000 has got it's not got the latest and greatest version of Yamaha's auto setup, but it's got a perfectly capable version of YPAO, which is, going to, again, help you dial it in and get it working nicely in your room. So yeah, Phil, this is an area to watch, because effectively, I think you're going to see certain stereo amplifiers actually become a bit more minimalist again. So they'll get, certain companies are actually going to get shot of digital inputs and go, well, actually, it's a line level amplifier. You attach what you like to it, and then at the other end, you're going to have things which are basically all-in-one systems in all but name, and they are, 2-channel. But they're equipped with many of the things that you would be completely familiar with from an AV receiver perspective, and I think it's going to do very well for people.
Interesting product, it really is, and I think I'm going to look out for a few more of these, because we're talking about solutions for problems and so on, and I think soundbars have taken off because that is a solution to problems. People didn't want 5.1, 7.1 systems in the main living room. They wanted to go for a cleaner look, and again, this opens it up for those who maybe don't want a soundbar, but they want to have a 2-channel system that they can also pipe the TV through and so on, and it looks nice and elegant in a room with a couple of nice floor standers or whatever. So yeah, I can see the appeal here.
And furthermore, people have mentioned in the comments for the Yamaha review, and on other times I've reviewed product with 2-channel HDMI-ARC. You're absolutely right. It's still 48K PCM. There's no, it doesn't, unless you have a product with a multi-channel receiver chip in the stereo product, it won't handle the LFE signal. So there's no performance difference to attaching the product to the optical output. I can confirm that. I've tested it here. But it's a world of difference that you don't have to teach your family to turn on 15 consecutive products, run through that's like defusing a bomb. If you turn your television on and the Yamaha's connected to it, the Yamaha turns on, selects the HDMI input, and just works. And I dislike the term wife acceptance factor. It's in its own way derogatory, but there is absolutely no harm in having products that your family doesn't have to sit down for an evening's training to learn how to use.